All right, everyone, we are live. This is ND Sean 45 coming at you, and for this last minute live stream, I have a very special guest joining me tonight. He is the founder and the CEO of the website YeshuaPatriots.com. He is a activist, a vlogger, basically a little bit of everything. Um, Please welcome Deron Slater. Deron, welcome to the ND Sean 45 channel.
Sean, I have to tell you, thank you for the invite, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Deron, I gotta share this with the folks. I just messaged you and I just personally talked for the first time about, I don't know, 5 hours ago, and we put this whole stream together on a basically on a limb. This was not this was literally a last minute decision. So I hope all of you watching appreciate it. But anyway, Deron, I've been following you for about the last year or so, give or take. And I gotta say, man, there's been a lot of people who inspired me. You have kept that inspiration going because there's a lot of things about you that I like. You're conservative, Republican, Trump supporter, all that stuff. But before we really dive into current issues and whatever we want to talk about, because I'm an open book on this channel. For a lot of my audience, I'm sure probably doesn't know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind, would you give everybody a little background on, where you come from and how you got to be where you're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, just in a nutshell, you guys, and just to keep it just simplified and just a summary, as I should say, I actually I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I come from a Chicago mafia crime family, you guys. And I was an ex-gang leader. I was involved in firearms and cocaine distribution and organized crime and etc. All before I was 20 years old. But when I turned 20 years old, that's when I decided to turn my life around, because I was looking at 89 years plus over my head. And the judge had grace on me. And coming from a militant crime family, they were trying to indoctrinate me to hate my country and to hate whites and to believe that I am systematically oppressed and that I am a victim and I have no options in life. But it was a white judge that had grace on me, and she changed my life, and she was the catalyst that basically sparked my transformation. Of course, I have to give all credit to Yeshua as well. But in this tragic event, it was fortunate. It was a blessing in disguise, because it made me question my own process, my own thinking process. Where did it come from? It made me want to do my due diligence to find the answers to my questions. And once I started to jump into basically American history and get to true American history that was free of the liberal revisionism, that made me curious about politics as well. And so when I started to jump more into politics and I started to learn the true accurate history of both parties, that's when I came out as a conservative. And I primarily walked away from my entire life. And just ever since I was 20 years old, became a business owner. I've actually owned probably 5 businesses within the last 18 years. Became a ministry graduate, certified peer recovery specialist. Now I'm also a certified SDR, and now I am also the owner of YeshuaPatriots.com, which teaches the United States Constitution and also gives you true American history free of liberal revisionism. And I attack the victimhood mentality and the entitlement complex, and I expose liberalism for what it is. So I'm very blunt, very direct.
And that's definitely something that, even though you and I just started talking personally, that is definitely something that you and I have a lot in common in, because let's see, I've had this particular channel since 2009. Well, actually, I take that back, more like 2011. But regardless, I've started speaking against those very same things, because liberalism, as I think the book that Michael Savage wrote, Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, that's absolutely what it is. I mean, that couldn't describe it any more perfectly.
Precisely.
And, you know, I decided to start talking, and I can't tell you, you know, how many toes I've stepped on over the years, how many people I pissed off. Well, hell, I just pissed off some last night. But all I can say is, Deron, hearing your story there, that really is a remarkable turnaround that you were able to make in your life, and you know, find the Lord in your life and get away from all the heresies out there that just love to drag people down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Sean, I always tell my bases that we have to be completely honest with ourselves, and we have to have the emotional maturity to basically do an introspection on ourselves, because we're called to do that as Christians. We are to examine our hearts. We are to question our motives. We are to hold every thought captive. We are. And that's part of maturing spiritually. And we have to come to the realization that the scriptures makes it blatantly clear that God has his doctrine, his ways, his standards, and then the world has their doctrine, their ways, and their standards. And it will never, ever equate to Yeshua and his standards. And so I'm just not one of those kind of Christians who believes in softening the sound doctrine. And I believe just due to a lack of sound doctrine is the reason why liberalism is so rampant, because liberalism has crept into the body and is causing a great destruction and giving off antichrist doctrine in a disguise of compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's the old saying goes, Satan is real, and well, it's very true. It is very true. And I'll say this, it'd be easy to say that, you know, oh, it seems like all this is happening now, when in reality it's been going on pretty much since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
But another thing along with that is, with all the evils that this mindset carries, and people can get mad at the Bible and get mad at the scriptures for everything that it says, but people forget it's not Sean and Deron's rules. It is the Lord's rules, and he was expected to follow them. And of course, unfortunately, myself included in this, we're all going to fall and make mistakes along the way, you know. But the fact is, the Lord commanded all of us to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be militant. That's the word I was looking for. He commands us to be militant, and despite the mistakes that all of us make, we have to fight the good fight. We can't just go laying down and letting people walk all over us, the people that have this liberal mindset, which is so detrimental.
No, I agree with you 100%, because I identify as a radical Christian, the same as I identify as a radical Republican, because all through history, it has only been those who have been radical Christians who have basically changed the world. They have caused the greatest change. And so when you think about radical, you got to think about the 12 apostles. I mean, they were radical. And the only one who wasn't basically put to death was John. And so we have to get back to true sound doctrine. Stop trying to be everyone's friend, because Christ never ever tried to be everyone's friend. He told people the unbridled truth, and it was unadulterated, and it did hurt, but he did it in love. True. And telling the truth is love. And a lot of people think that withholding the truth from a person is love. No, it's not. No, you're playing the devil's advocate. You're giving them a half truth, which means that's a lie. And Satan is the father of all lies. And so he likes to distort what is the representation of the truth. He's a counterfeit of the truth. We all know that. And with that being said, brother, the biggest thing that gets underneath my skin, because a lot of people are intellectually dishonest and just disingenuous about Christianity entirely, as far as being a doctrine and the way that the Christian is supposed to conduct themselves. You said we're supposed to be militant. We're supposed to be radical. We're supposed to be the examples of Christ, because he dwells in our temple, right? And so we only have the newness of life only because of what he has done. And so this passive doctrine, that's commercialized Christianity. You could never, ever come to the apostles with this passive doctrine of, I'm not going to speak up. I'm not going to stand my ground. No, no, the scriptures are contrary of these stances. You should have enemies, especially those that belong to the world. If you don't, you should be concerned if you're a Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, and I think the way things are going is eventually it's going to get to the point where you almost won't be allowed to express your Christian faith if you are one, or you will be thrown in jail, perhaps worse. I'm not trying to sound too extreme here, but I told a friend on another show that I did a while ago that it could get to the point where they put Christians in camps.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's the thing. And that's exactly why, we as Christians have to be militant on so many things that are going on today, that if you let them walk all over us, they take over. I mean, look what's happening when evil runs the show. I mean, to sum it up in a nutshell, and we'll talk more about this as the stream goes along, but all the chaos that we're seeing, and it's like I said, it's always been there, but it seems like there's so much of it at one time, and it's, I don't know if that's a sign of something. I don't know. I really don't know what to think of it, but it's almost like an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I mean, it aligns itself with biblical prophecy. The times would be like the days of Noah. I mean, there would be a huge information boom. I mean, information is at our disposal. It's right there at our fingertips. And so anything we want the answer to, we can just pull it right up. And so the evil, yeah, is being more exposed, but this is not a new evil. Yes, we have been combating this evil ever since the beginning, as you alluded to before. And so, and I love that Solomon said there's nothing new underneath the sun. There's nothing new. And so since there's nothing new, we know what the panacea is. We know what actions to take. Can you imagine if our founding fathers, who actually laid their lives down for this constitutional republic, if they actually subscribed to this passivity doctrine? I will still be a slave right now in this great country.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely you would. Absolutely. And, I know I asked you this off camera, but since you brought that up, since you mentioned that, yourself being a conservative Christian, myself, I'm not exactly a card-carrying Republican, but I know you identify strongly as a Republican. And I don't want to make anything about race here. I want to focus on, you, Deron, the person, and not the color of your skin, because I'm not concerned about that. But I do have to ask you, being a black man who is all those things, conservative, Republican, Christian, do you get looked at often by other black people when they say, "What the heck are you doing, dude? Why are you believing that? They hate us. You're supposed to be against them."
Yes, I mean that is the mantra that's chanted to me. Nonstop. I'm constantly bombarded with that narrative, and it's the most absurd narrative. And this lets me know that a person does not know their facts historically. So let's get to the historical facts. 1850s, right? This is when the radical Republicans actually started, and they started to basically just grow in numbers, right? And they're gaining momentum. I mean, you have to think about this, along with Frederick Douglass, Soldier of Truth, Harriet Tubman. They also played a pivotal role in the radical Republicans' growth. But these radical Republicans were Christians, bold Christians, insatiable mavericks for the truth, the people who are taking the initiative to basically change the course of America. And they are solely responsible for the trajectory of causing a different trajectory in America by getting rid of slavery, then also implementing the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which basically made me a citizen, a protected citizen. Okay, they gave me equal rights, and then also gave me the right to vote. And so all that came from these radical Christians. The Republican Party, the original GOP, and I want to point out the distinction. I'm not a modern day Republican. I am a radical Republican. I am a conservative. That means I'm a traditionalist. The Republican Party that we are seeing today is nowhere reminiscent of the original GOP or the grassroots GOP back in the 1850s. Right. Okay. Those GOPs back in the 1850s, they stuck to the United States Constitution. They held the Constitution in high regard. They valued the Declaration of Independence as well, but they also valued God, and they held onto true conservative views because And at the end of the day, Christ is the truest conservative of them all. He is the word that became flesh. He's the beginning, he's the end, he's the author, he's the finisher. And he came to correct what these liberals back then had distorted. He came to fix it. And so he's the truest conservative of all. And with a lot of these blacks, where I get this victim mentality appeal, which mentally, but it's primarily predicated on false notions, right? And then, it's just misconceived, because the thing is this, as I said before, the historical facts and lacking those historical facts is the reason why most blacks are Democrats. Blacks voted 100% Republican when they were actually set free. It was the Republican Party in the Deep South that elected the first 211 African Americans to the Republican Party. The Democrats didn't allow their first black representatives was like 1940 or 1950 something. But this is the late 1800s, and the Republicans were way ahead of them. But then also too, you got to think about it. The Republicans have fought for all civil rights legislation through history. Democrats have always voted against all civil rights legislation all through history. Blacks, when they stuck to God, they stuck to the Republican Party. They were on the trajectory to be per capita the most richest and the most educated ethnicity in America. But what happened? The Great Depression that lasted for 10 years. I believe that started in, I could be wrong, but 1929. Blacks didn't start to vote until start to swing over to vote Democrats in 1936. That's because of the Great New Deal. No one talked to these blacks from Black Wall Street before Black Wall Street was actually burned down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the Democrats. No one talked to them and told them what to do with their finances. And no one actually told them that the market is bound to basically correct itself. And so they accepted welfare, which when they accepted that, they traded their freedom spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically for a handout. Now they started to worship government instead of worshiping God.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, it's not just, the black community that we've seen that happen. And it's been a lot of different people. It's not even just people of color. There's plenty of white groups that have done that too.
Mm-hmm.
That mooch off the system, and they have just turned away from the scriptures completely. And one thing I want to ask you is, do you want to address any comments that get made in the live chat?
I can't see any of the comments.
Okay. I can put it across the screen.
Yeah, I'm definitely open for any questions.
Okay.
This guy. So he said, this man hates his own people. So once again, and as I told you before, I'm very frank, very blunt. This is one of the most moronic, idiotic statements that I get from people all the time. Myself, as being an American, okay, before anything else, okay, my ethnicity, if I was to say how important my ethnicity is, it doesn't even make the top 10 list, okay? But as an American who knows true American history, why would I support a party that actually came from slave owners, then created the KKK that was responsible for lynching black and white conservatives in the Deep South and basically extinguishing conservative neighborhoods who burned down Wall Street? That doesn't make any sense to me. You look at every ghetto in America is controlled by a Democrat. It's the same ideology. They haven't changed. The thing is now they have switched modes. They're no longer teaching like they used to do back in the 1950s. Let's just say from the 1930s to the 1950s, they used to teach in America, the KKK, Democrats, that blacks were second-class citizens. They were mentally deficient, and they didn't deserve any rights. It's the Democrats who implemented Jim Crow. Before Jim Crow, it was the black codes. Before that, before the KKK, they were called the White Knights. Birth of a Nation, Democrats. The first Democratic National Convention was held in New York. All KKK members. Margaret Sanger, KKK member, creates Planned Parenthood.
And people still deny that.
Exactly. And this is not my opinion. These are all facts. And so this is the problem with that comment. This lets me know that this person is ignorant by choice because we have the power of the internet. So just due to the fact that this person is intellectually lazy, it proves to me if he was to do his due diligence, and if he had any scruples, he would come back and he apologize, basically for his racist comment anyway that was predicated upon my race. Focus on my intellect, on my content, the character. Don't talk to me about my race because it's ridiculous and it's an insult.
He has this one. Someone apparently brainwashed you. Kiss the white man's feet more. And then he says this one. Let me join this and drop some facts and knowledge. I can see it's greatly needed here. I honestly don't want to bring him on.
Sean, let me guess. Is this person even of African descent?
I don't know. I honestly, dude, I get a lot of trolls on this channel. I don't know for sure if this guy's one, but
he's not. He's not. So he's irrelevant.
Yeah, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. But what the comment I want to make about Margaret Sanger, and to add on to what you were talking about, that is, people forget that she even said can't remember if it was in a statement or a letter to somebody, but she said specifically that she wanted to breed out or exterminate the Negro population.
Yes,
that is a fact. That is a known fact. And why do you see so many Planned Parenthoods in these urban neighborhoods?
That's right. You know, Sean, it's all about psychological manipulation. Get in lockstep. Think as a monolith. Okay, it has everything to do with a plantation. As I said before, this is the ideology that comes from slave owners. So they think like slave owners. And I did a video the other night where I said, where did all these racial pejoratives come from? Where did these epithets actually come from? Their origins are from the KKK. So whenever you hear a person say Sambo, Coon, Uncle Tom, Porch Monkey, Field Negro, House Negro, all that stuff came from the KKK. And it's like these people don't realize this. So whenever you use that kind of terminology, and that's why I tell my base now, to have a Klansman mindsetting, you don't have to be white. You can be black and have a Klansman mindsetting, aka known as the slave mentality. You do not have to be white to have a Klansman mentality. Anyone can have a Klansman mentality, especially if they use that kind of terminology.
Oh yeah, I mean, myself, I can speak firsthand to that. Back in 2013, I was down in Miami for the college football national championship game, and a good friend of mine from Ireland flew in, and the first thing we went into this bar, and just it happened to be all black people that were in there, and that was not a problem. I don't care. I'm for meeting anybody who I can have a good time with and have a good conversation with. The first thing we get when we walk in, this one guy walks up to us, and I'm not going to repeat the language, but he says, what are you two effing honkies doing in here? So that right there is Klan mentality.
Exactly.
It's nobody's accepted from it. Nobody's an exception.
That's right.
So you hit the nail right on the head.
That's right.
But anyway, getting a little off topic here. This guy is still begging me to come on, let him on. I'm not going to. Anyway, let's get right into current events. You know, change things up a little bit. Now, obviously, and I just did a video on this last night. I don't know if you were able to catch it or not, but I gave my thoughts on the Derek Chauvin trial, and I disagreed with the verdict, and let's just say I pissed a lot of people off. But I want what was your reaction when you first heard the verdict?
Well, my reaction was I instantly went live. I was floored. I was discombobulated, but I was completely apoplectic at the same time. It's very rare. All the charges, right? They contradict each other. I mean, how can you be guilty of murder, but also manslaughter at the same time? Doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
And this is why it was excessive. They found him guilty on all three charges. Now, for the record, I agree with Brandon Tatum on this one wholeheartedly. What he did wasn't wrong. how he went about it was wrong. I agree with that. It was neglectful. It was negligent, right? Let's just say, forget neglectful. It was negligence, but it wasn't negligent to the point where it warranted those kind of charges anyway, because I believe those charges were trumped. But as I alluded to on my video, this was 100% political. They wanted to cowtail, okay, because of the threats that have been issued for nearly ever since this transpired. So for nearly a year. Maxine Waters made it even worse when she actually came to my state, came to my city, and she issues a threat to the jurors. That threat wasn't to America in particular, okay? That threat was to the jurors, because she said, if we don't get the verdict that we want, there will be confrontation. That wasn't to America. That was to those jurors. Can you imagine being a juror and you hear a politician that says this from the radical left, and you know that the radical left has been burning down America for nearly a year, okay? The summer of terror, you know that the radical left basically has been killing people, burning down businesses, assaulting people, okay, at random just because of their skin color. Can you imagine how afraid those jurors would have been? This is 100% political.
I said the same thing in my video that I made last night, expressing my reactions to this. Now I had someone who commented on there, and it's a person that I've known for a while. There's never really been hostility, but this person tells me that he was not on trial for racism, Sean. He was on trial for the actions that he committed. And I'm like, I never once said he was on trial for his racism. Maybe not officially on the books, but it is an absolute 100% fact that everything that we've heard from the mainstream media, from the woke liberal BLM crowd, they had, and Maxine Waters, of course, is included in this, but they don't tell me that they didn't have influence on this.
Exactly.
Of course they did.
Exactly.
I mean, you have jurors openly stating that they feared for their lives. And I even can sympathize with them to that point, because you just know if they returned a not guilty verdict, you just know there was going to be someone from the press that would leak their information. They would have people showing up at their doors, probably gonna try to kill them. So no, I never said that he was on trial for, that Chauvin was on trial for racism, but the influence was there. And if you really don't believe that, then you're just completely clueless. I'm sorry, but those are the facts.
And Chauvin wasn't on trial for what he did. If you ask me, he was on trial for being a white police officer. Why do I say that? What was the narrative? Well, a white police officer kills a black man. He uses excessive force and he kills a black man. And they disregarded the underlying facts and the science, the exact science. Even one of the credible witnesses said that even if he would have never ever had an encounter with the cops, he would have died from fentanyl. The first autopsy revealed that he died from fentanyl. But Keith Ellison, okay, the radical left is here, okay, with his cultural Marxist self and his agenda to completely destabilize America and his anti-Americanism. He calls in a second autopsy from the same person that did autopsy on Epstein. Wow, what a coincidence, right? And then he conveniently basically publishes this narrative that is because he had sustained injury to his throat, his neck, and all this kind of stuff. And that's the reason why he died. When the first autopsy said that it was fentanyl. Now, the thing is that's really crazy. The body cam footage was hidden from the masses while they fueled this false narrative. And they basically enticed people to burn down America. That's what they did. Burn down America, along with Maxine Waters, because it's not the first time she has basically called for violence, okay? And so they burn down America. Absolutely. They burn down America, and they make this all about race. What's the narrative in America today? It's all about race. The white man is the enemy. The white man is the one causing the systematic oppression. We have to tear down the patriarchy. I mean, this is nuts. This is asinine. He didn't stand a fair chance from the beginning. He wasn't going to have a fair trial. He's in Liberalville, Minnesota.
You said basically just everything that I said last night. It's like you're reading, because I don't think you've seen my video, have you?
No.
Okay, if you get a chance to watch it, you'll see that I'm saying the same damn things that you're saying right now. It's incredible.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I'm so glad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm
no, no,
so
go ahead.
glad. I'm so glad that you brought up the autopsy, because this is something that I find really fascinating with the whole process of that. When the first autopsy was done, it was done by Andrew Baker, who is the Hennepin County medical examiner. And I remember reading this last year when he first conducted it. It was in the New York Times, and if this says anything, CNN News. So two very, I mean, yeah, we call it fake news, but it says a lot when CNN's reporting the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Andrew Baker in particular, he initially said last year that it was the stress of the arrest and George Floyd's heart problems that killed him, not Chauvin's knee.
Exactly.
Now, yeah, and all of a sudden he's changing his story now, saying that, oh, I rule this a homicide. It was it was from the knee actually. I can't help but wonder. I'm not exactly what you would call a conspiracy theorist, but man, did he change his story pretty quick.
Sean, the historical significance. I have to get back to this because
Sure.
it's the same. It's the KKK playbook. How else were the KKK so successful in down south with getting away with multiple lynchings, castrating people, beating people to every inch of their lives, basically fraudulent charges, freaking unethical, trials, okay, where people's civil rights, the human rights were violated, right? The Constitution was violated. How else do you think they got away with going from town to town, destroying towns, conservative towns? They manipulated the press. They intimidated the eyewitnesses. They burned crosses. So nowadays, it's the same methodology. They're just doing it a different way. They burn your business. They dox you on social media. Back then, the KKK put out hitman cards to kill conservatives. They used the internet to put out hitman cards on conservatives. It's the same ideology. They're not going to change. It's completely satanic, period.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, now it's destroying your business and doing anything you can to destroy your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will see that and they'll listen. And I've noticed that with a lot of people today is they don't want to do their research on things. They really don't. They don't want to do history research. They don't want to put two and two together. And I just find that amazing that so many people are what seems like incapable of doing that.
Exactly.
But,
and Sean, let me tie that together because I want to use that first guy when you posted his first comment where he said that you are basically like a shame to your people, right?
yeah.
Did you notice he didn't acknowledge me as a human being? He acknowledged me by my race. That's the racism that I'm talking about. And people are too ignorant to realize their hypocrisy and their stupidity. But see, I like to paint the canvas, right? I want to paint it vividly, and I want to expose the hypocrisy. Okay. I don't go around when I meet people and I don't introduce myself this way. Hey, I'm Deron Slater. I'm a black man. No, I say I'm a Deron Slater. This is my title. Boom, boom, boom. Because I'm fully aware of my intrinsic value, right? And I don't think like a monolith. I am an individual before anything else because I understand the civil rights movement, right? You're supposed to judge a person by the content of their character. If I'm telling you this, I'm still a Christian. If he would have said that to me in my face, you know the kind of Christian that I am, him and I would have had a problem.
Yeah, and you would have been justified in it.
So
you would have been,
the internet tough guy stuff. No, I'm a tough guy in real life. I'm a Christian. I'm a son of the Lion of Judah. I don't play those kind of games. And Sean knows it, and my base knows it. So we just have to keep it real. And I'm fully authentic. That was complete utter nonsense, and that's the kind of bigotry and prejudice that we need to keep calling out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because right now, like I said at the start of the stream, this is Sean talking to Deron. This is not Sean, a white man, talking to Deron, a black man. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, you are just a human being. We are two human beings having a conversation.
Absolutely.
And that's what's really sad is that there's this obsession that people have with race drives me so damn crazy. It's ridiculous. I'm I
That's
don't
what's
know.
bringing us
I'm out of
back.
words.
Yep, that's what's bringing us back. It's retarding progression, right? It's unraveling the civil rights movement, all the progress, the huge leaps that this young country, in comparison to other countries, the great
Right.
that we have made as a people, coming together as one. Now that's threatened again by the same party, by the same ideology.
Yeah. And this is, but yet some people would call this progress.
It is
Liberals would call this progress. That is the sad reality of all of this.
That's right. Under the mask of compassion.
Well, it's just like what you and your friend Ashley were talking about on the stream that you guys did. Yeah, last night. That's men dressing in drag and competing in women's sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be progress.
Exactly.
And I just myself saw an article today of that trans MMA fighter. They're celebrating this person. Like, really, guys? You're going to celebrate a guy who dresses up as a woman and beats on actual women?
Yeah, that's
progress? Are you serious?
Exactly. Well, I mean, so women's suffrage, which the Republicans actually passed that bill, was the Democrats that voted against the women's suffrage bill. Basically, for those who are not familiar with the women's suffrage bill, they gave women the right to vote. Okay. They have come a long way too. Because don't you remember there was a time too in America where women were treated as second-class citizens too, right?
Yeah.
But not as bad as the Negro. And so the thing is that this is retarding progression. Here's the thing, you guys. This is how I know that it's purely satanic. And this is why I love the entire chapter of Matthew 7. But there's a part of Matthew 7 that I like to quote because, you guys, it is so important and it's so crucial and it's so indicative of the days that we live in right now. And a lot of people always overlook this part. Christ said that you judge a tree by the fruits it produces. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit. A bad tree can produce good fruit. So examine the fruit. Your ideology constitutes your environment. Democrats historically have been against, racial equality, homogeny, God, the United States Constitution, right? Human rights, civil rights, your liberties, etc. They have always been against it. And look what they're doing today. They're perverting the minds of our youth, telling them or teaching them at an extremely young age, which I believe is pedophilia, talking to them about anal and oral sex. You can be whatever gender you want to be. Man can be females. Now the women came so far as being the feminist movement when it was actually legitimate. Okay, not this toxic crap that they have nowadays, right? This radical feminism. But when it was legitimate, they have come so far. Now you have men who are taking scholarships away from women. You have men who are basically impeding on women's privacy in their own bathrooms. And now they have signed this tyrannical draconianism law that's nonsensical, that's completely unconstitutional, into law that a man can go into a woman's bathroom. That is sick. That is disgusting. And there's no defense for that. It's indefensible. No, there's no logical argument for that.
Yeah, and one thing that I've always told people that support this kind of garbage, I'm just like, all right, you're all for it. Well, when your daughter or your wife or your girlfriend goes into this bathroom and they get, I don't know, maybe raped by one of these psychos, tell me how much you like it and how progressive you think it is after that.
Exactly.
And people are so concerned that won't ever happen.
Okay. There's been multiple incidents when these men that identify as women have basically sexually abused women in the bathroom.
Yeah. Just 2 words: Buffalo Bill.
My man. Oh. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, we got a comment that I think we'll both like here. Deron Slater and ND Sean 45, 2032, 36. Keep America great after Trump, DeSantis 2024 and 2028.
That's why I always throw up the fours, baby. That's why I always throw up the fours. That's right.
Man, I appreciate the comment, but I could never be in politics. I'm not cut out for it. I'm too honest.
And that's the problem. There's a lot of people in politics who aren't cut out for it. That's the problem that we have right now. They don't belong there. It's a lot of them that do not belong there. And I'm speaking for the GOP too, the rhinos. It's a lot of them that do not belong there because their first love isn't God. Their second love isn't their country either.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the rhinos, because this is the best way that I could describe both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans in modern times. And another person who inspired me on here. Have you ever heard of the Shoebots?
No, I haven't.
Okay, Ted Shoebot and his father Waleed. Those are
Shabbat.
Yeah, Shoebot.
Yeah, I've heard
tomato.
Shabbat. Yeah. Waleed
Okay,
Shabbat.
Yeah. Well, I become good friends with Ted and his colleague Andrew Biazad, and I've never spoken to his father, but those were the guys who really got me started in speaking my mind on here. And you, Deron, you just intensified it. But you get just as much credit as they do. But Ted described it perfectly. The difference between today's GOP and today's Democrats is the Democrats are just open about their heresy. The GOP tries to disguise it under something else. And I think that's perfect.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%.
And don't get me wrong, I know that there's plenty of politicians on the GOP side that really do try to lead the right way, but this day and age, you can't help but wonder who's telling the truth and who isn't. I mean,
exactly. We've
been let down so many times by that party, and so it's really hard to tell sometimes.
I mean, well, look what Mike Pence did. He's the epitome of what we're talking about. He could have challenged those votes. Yes, he had the constitutional right to challenge those votes. They would have to go back and they would have to investigate the credibility, the legitimacy of those votes. He didn't want to do it.
And I think
I wonder why.
Because he was probably afraid of the backlash that he'd get. He had no guts.
That's right.
When it's the old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
That's right.
He couldn't face it. And I'm not trying to beat the guy up, because I understand that fear is a reality of life, and it's hard not to be scared sometimes. But look at the bigger picture. I mean, you say that you fight for this president, but then in the time when he needs you the most, you turn your back on him.
Your fruits, okay, will expose you. What you align yourself with and what you don't align yourself with exposes you. And that's the thing. Gutless, spineless individuals have never, ever been held in high regard historically. I don't care what kind of literature you read or anything like that. As you said, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And so it exposed who truly loves this country. And you can tell who loves this country by their actions. If he truly loved this country, there's no way he would have handed it over to these tyrants, because we are fighting tyranny right now. The Declaration of Independence is based upon 27, contentions. Or let's just say, instead of just saying contentions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say these are 27 grievances that are voiced in the Declaration of Independence. That is the blueprint that inspired the United States Constitution. But that Declaration of Independence was inspired by pastors from the 1680s with many sermons went into that Declaration of Independence that gave us the United States Constitution, which gave us our founding fathers who were bold and put their lives on the line when they signed the Declaration of Independence. All 56 signers of that Declaration of Independence. They knew that they were putting their lives in jeopardy when they signed the Declaration of Independence, but they did not cower.
That was pretty much a death warrant at the time.
Exactly. It was a death sentence. Absolutely.
But of course, you know, all those guys who signed the Declaration of Independence, you know, according to people like Senator Tammy Duckworth from here in Illinois, they're all a bunch of dead traitors, didn't you know?
You know, this is what I love about this country. You have the liberty to be stupid.
Yeah.
You have the liberty to be lazy. You have the liberty to be incompetent. You have the liberty to even be a derelict, okay, at your job. This is what is consistent with Democrats. Look at their district. Failed policies, failed economy. Their constituents are living in a perpetual state of just decay, hopelessness, morallessness, lack of opportunity. They feel oppressed. And there's some truth to when people say, oh, America is systematically racist. Yes, but it's not because of the conservatives. It is because of the party that you remain loyal to that has implemented each and every systemically racist policy that was on the books in old America. And now they're at it again, but it's against whites today. White guilt, white privilege. Chauvin wasn't put on trial because of what he did, because the maneuver was actually legal. It was a sanctioned maneuver. He was put on trial for being a white cop, unfortunately, that had a black criminal who was resisting arrest, who was on fentanyl. That was his misfortune, because there was also a white man, okay, who died in the same circumstances, and you don't even hear his name. It's never talked about. And cops kill 2 times more whites than they kill blacks. But blacks commit, okay, 50% of the crime in America, and they're 13% of the United States population. No one ever wants to talk about what is the easiest thing, the easiest solution for when you encounter a cop. It's to be compliant and stop trying to resist arrest. And then also the commonality between all these people who have been recently shot with resisting arrest, they had extensive records. But no one wants to talk about that.
Well, the recent one in the say their name crowd is that Dante Wright.
Correct.
You know,
here in Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't thinking about that at first, but yeah, in your neck of the woods, absolutely. You know, not only did he resist arrest, fight with the cops, and try to drive off in his car, cause a high-speed chase, maybe hurt somebody else in the process, or worse, kill somebody. Long before that incident, he held up a woman at gunpoint for $820.
Thank you. And what else? He had a warrant.
Yeah, and I was thinking that the warrant was something to do related to that, but I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, the warrant was for him having a firearm, and guess what? Trying to elude law enforcement, felony fleeing.
And then, of course, I mentioned this person as well, but Breonna Taylor. You know, everybody making her out to be this upstanding citizen, this martyr. You know, a nursing student or whatever it was that she was doing. Well, then explain this to me. Why is it that she's not only dating a drug dealer, but essentially being his money handler, his treasurer?
Exactly. Exactly. And the thing is, if she was sleeping in bed, how could she be shot out in the hallway? So they don't see they blame the cops. They don't want to blame the boyfriend that actually fired on the cops.
Yes. So
the cops returned fire and they hit Breonna Taylor. But if she was sleeping in the bed, how did she get hit? If she was sleeping in the bed, if the firefight or the fire exchange happened in the hallway.
Absolutely.
No, they don't care about facts. It's all about emotion, and they want to go off of this contrived narrative, okay, that America is racist. No, America's not racist, okay? America's not an evil country. Right now, it's just being ran by evil people, okay? And right now, who's controlling the narrative? Victim-minded people who are psychologically manipulated, and they respond, okay, to trigger words. Racism. Boom, they respond to it. All the Democrats have to do every 4 years, say racism. They're absolved of all their guilt. All their failed policies is forgiven.
And the sad part is so many people, And it's not even just, the black community that falls for this. It's whites, it's Mexicans, you name it, anybody of any color. They fall hook, line, and sinker for it. And you know why that is? Not only just to what you were talking about now of having this victim mentality, but they also have the mentality like, and this is just anybody in a bad situation. If you live in a bad area, if you're poor, if, take your pick on whatever situation. There's so many people out there that have this mentality of the world owes me something.
Exactly, that entitlement complex. I'm telling you, and it stems from that victim mentality. I'm telling you.
But yet myself, I'm privileged, didn't you know?
Right.
I mean, shoot. Everything. Let me tell you something. Everything in my life that I have, nothing was given to me. And this is to all the people that love to believe that white privilege crap. I mean, and I'm not going to say where I work or what I do, except that I'm a machinist. I'll say that. But I don't think my company would like me giving out their name on a live stream.
Right.
But I have applied with this place like 12 or 13 times over the last 11 or 12 years. So now, if I was privileged, don't you think that I would have gotten it on the first try?
Absolutely.
And let's see what else. I've been laid off 3 times. And I'm not trying to give my life story here, but I have not. All I'm saying is I have never been privileged in any way whatsoever. I've had to take a job, doing crappy things just to make ends meet when things got tough. So if that's privilege. If that's privilege, then these people don't know what privilege is, to be honest with you.
Here's the thing, Sean. Here's the fact of it, okay? If you live in America, you're privileged. We all are privileged. We all are spoiled, okay? We live like kings and queens when you basically look at America and compare it to other third world countries. You know what, Sean? Let's examine the evidence. Let's jump deeper into the facts. If white privilege was actually true, it's just a theory, but it's a moronic theory, right? And you shouldn't give a theory as much credence and as much merit as something that's actually factual, okay? So let's apply the scientific method, right? Let's be objective. Minorities, especially a lot of people that come from India, they score way higher than whites. Asians that live in America, they score way higher than whites in academia. Per capita, they make more money than whites. Jews, per capita, make more money than whites. You can't say that white privilege exists in basketball, can you? It sure as heck doesn't. Does white privilege exist in football? It sure as heck doesn't. Does white privilege exist in a rap game? It sure as heck doesn't. Does white privilege exist in entertainment overall? No, it does not. So this white privilege, Sean, stems from this, as I told you before, this false compassion. Everything that they try to manufacture, I'm telling you, it's going to give you counterfeit results because fundamentally, liberalism is mentally debunked. It's fallacious. It's faloney. Okay, it's baloney. It's malarkey. The reason why is this: they try to take simplicity and apply simplicity to complex equations. Yes. You would never, ever be able to solve algebra, trigonometry, or even physics with basic math, period.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't skip over steps.
But they want to.
Yeah. You see this all the time. And I'll say this, I like it when you brought up the basketball example, because this is one of the best examples that I could think of. But do you remember the story years ago when Donovan McNabb, who was the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, when he went on I can't remember if it was an interview or an article or whatever, saying how rough he had it because he was a black quarterback?
I do not recall that in particular.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much what he said was he had it so hard being a black quarterback. And I'm thinking like, really, dude? You've got it so rough. You are playing in a premier franchise in the NFL, making millions of dollars a year, and you think you've got it so bad because you're a black quarterback. Well, man, if you got it so bad, then I would love to be a black quarterback. Are you kidding me?
Sean, it's like it's a huge spit in the face to our ancestors. And I'm saying our ancestors because there's been tons of whites. And actually, there's been more whites that have died for civil rights than any other ethnicity in America. They don't want to talk about almost the 600,000 plus that actually died during the Civil War. Then they don't want to talk about the whites that were the slave abolitionists. And then also, too, another historical fact, majority of our founding fathers were slave abolitionists. That two-thirds law, don't you know that was to punish any founding father that actually owned slaves because they had less representation when it came to Congress and legislature. But anyway, besides that, Sean, the thing is this, brother. What we are facing right now is an existential assault on common sense, the erosion of critical thinking skills, the attack on God, and the blueprint of our constitutional republic, which is known as the Matrix of Liberty, which is the biggest granite statue that is found at Plymouth Rock. Hey, Sean, what do people say? I'm going to give you an example of just how misinformed the masses are in America.
Yeah, Sean, like a couple people here on my chat.
Sean, did Christopher Columbus land in America?
It wasn't called America at the time.
He didn't land anywhere near America, even though it wasn't called America at the time. He landed on islands.
Well, that's true. That's
okay.
True.
So if he landed on islands during his first voyage, Sean, how did he kill Native Americans in America? And how did they actually steal land from Native Americans?
Good point. Good question.
Liberal revisionism, Sean, is the problem.
Yeah, we're seeing this all the time. People think that they can just rewrite history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you bring up Christopher Columbus. I mean, people are so convinced that he did all that, but yet everybody still wants to take his statue down from universities and all that. It's
Sean,
what did I say?
Sean, here's some more facts about Christopher Columbus. Okay, he was a devout Christian. When Christopher Columbus did his first voyage, right? He left some of his men, okay, with the civilized, okay, what's the word I'm looking? Indigenous people, okay?
Yeah.
He left his people with the civilized indigenous people. The other indigenous people were cannibals. When he came back for his second voyage,
I was going to bring that up.
Had killed his men and the peaceful indigenous people. So he took his man and then went and killed the cannibals and freed their hostages because these cannibals were eating the babies and they were raping the women. See, that didn't transpire in America. You know what happened in America? The Puritans landed at Plymouth Rock. They didn't steal any land.
No.
Land was given to them because it was a Native American who already had traveled to Britain that spoke English fluently, and he was their guide. He taught them how to cultivate and etc. We got to get back to true American history.
And real quick, I just want to say to the bottom people here in the comment section on the live chat, with the exception of Dwayne, of course, you people are just disgusting and disgraces as human beings. So if you don't like what's being said here, get the hell off.
You know what, Sean? I always tell these liberals, you want to be so emotional, get so emotional, come on my show and debate me. I'm going to make you look like a fool. I'm going to expose your insolence. I'm going to expose your ignorance. And I will prove to you that you are feckless, that you are the bigot, you are the one who's prejudiced, you are the one who's racist, and that yourself, okay, your victimhood is self-induced.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to put up some of the comments. Some of these are just absolutely filthy, and
it's all ad hominem attacks. What do you expect from it? I mean, that's the ideology. It's a lack of maturity. They cannot reason like adults. They're mentally incapable. They're mentally incapable of doing that, Sean.
Well, and it goes back to because you and I were talking about this before we went on the air, but it's like what we were discussing when we were talking about, us being in the generation that we are, I mean, the tail end of the millennial generation, and by what our skin color is, where we come from, anything like that, we're expected to be a part of,
the monolith.
certain viewpoints, certain groups, and all that. And it goes back to what I was telling you about, people being shocked that you have the views that you do when they think you should be something else.
Bingo. And that's the definition of what?
Racism.
Thank you.
Racism. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I got to bring up one comment here. Guy had a question. Are you familiar with the argument of DN?
That can mean so many things. I have no idea what does it mean by DN.
I thought the same thing. Well, yeah, Rye, what are you talking about? What's the DN stand for? I don't even know if he's still here. And granted, I know on StreamYard in particular, there can be a little delay in between, the live feed itself and the comments. So yeah.
Oh, you know what? I can see the comments now. I'm sorry. I forgot I can actually pull them up on my side.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's too bad that you can see them, being honest with you. But I don't see why people are so upset that they see a man, regardless of what his color is, having common sense. It must really be that painful.
Because, so here, let me use this as a prime example. So you see what Rick Griffin said, this Deron Slater is a clear Uncle Tom. Why you hate your own race, bro? Let me just tell you how stupid this individual is. When you read the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Uncle Tom is the slave that actually put his life on the line, saving another slave. So you're calling me a hero. That just proves that you're, as far as literature, you're illiterate. And Sean, illiteracy is synonymous with ignorance. So when you're ignorant, it's easier for you to be a racist. Since it's easy for you to be a racist, that means you do not think logically. Your lens is all about race, period. So I don't expect anything too much more granted than them. You know what I expect? Kindergarten rhetoric. And that's all it is.
Oh, I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten that on here. And, of course, to be honest with you, and this is a long story, Deron, but I have one guy on here that's obsessed with trolling and stalking me. So it wouldn't surprise me if any of these accounts are actually him under a different name. So it's really nothing new. And of course, guys like Dwayne, Cowboys, Longhorns, they're actually regular viewers of mine. And they know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to bring up negativity in that case.
Right, right. I mean, Sean, like, as I said before, having one of the biggest patriots movements, as I should say, in Minnesota, we take these people head on. I think you do know that. We take them head on. We are not that kind of group that bows down to evil.
Well, I remember the video that I discovered you on when you were still a part of what was it called, Blexit?
Blexit, yeah.
And that was that event that you were at that day, was that a Trump rally, or was that just a thing that you guys were doing for?
Yeah, that was actually a Trump rally. I'm standing outside of the location, and that was actually the day before the Trump rally. I was just down there with the conservative family. Okay. And and the typical liberal. He was hurling racial epithets and racial slurs at one of the conservative sisters, and threatened to slap this woman. And so that's when I came walking up, and the same Trump hat that I'm wearing right now, and he noticed me wearing a Trump hat. Here's the thing, Sean. I always tell my patrons, and I tell my base. Okay, I almost have 40,000 just on Facebook alone, and I'm censored on Facebook. Right? I tell them, you confront them. Don't back down from them. You confront them. Once you start to confront these evil people, you will find out that they're cowards at heart, okay? Because the thing is, they haven't matured as men, mentally and emotionally. Yeah. This is why they have the victim mentality. This is why they want to give themselves over to this victim mentality, because it's an excuse for their failures in life. They don't want to take personal accountability. They don't know what true hard work is. They don't know what dedication is. They don't even know what a God is. They don't even know what having a moral compass is all about. They don't know what sound logic and reasoning is about. They don't know what maturity is. So I always tell them, you confront them. Don't you ever bow down to a terrorist. Don't ever get them any ground.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing. I remember watching that video, and as soon as you confronted him, yeah, the guy was still talking, but man, did he bolt out of there in a hurry.
It's like they automatically take your meekness for a weakness. See, I identify with the Apostle Paul. I identify with David. Okay, I'm meek, but don't think I'm weak, because I'm a cub of the line of Judah. I have a God who's a God of peace, love, but he's also a God of war that's never lost any battles. And if anyone was to tell me that the Old Testament patriarchs, that they were wimps, they were soft, no, you can't. David was one of the greatest warriors in history.
Christ himself took a whip to the temple when it was being perverted.
That's right. That's right. So, I'm not with that passive Christianity crap. That's the problem nowadays. That's why they're so emboldened, because they expect Christians to just, I'm gonna bow down if I try to rise up. No, you won't try to rise up to me and my patriots. No, no, you will not win. Period.
It's in this day and age, I think it's a lack of zeal.
Yes, exactly.
People are too afraid. And I'll tell you one thing, I don't want to just say my church this and my church that, but one thing in the church that I attend, I'm very lucky that we have a pastor who is not afraid to do what you and I are doing right now, and that is speak the truth.
That's right.
Everything that we're talking about right now. That's right. not being afraid to do it. And I've definitely seen a lot that are, well, they kowtow to the mob, and they stay silent. They basically lose their backbone.
That's right. You know what, Sean? You mentioned fear earlier, and Yeshua has not given us a spirit of fear. So if you're operating in fear, whose spirit are you operating in?
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, and that's just the thing. And that's those, and that's this Christian, fundamentals. And it's like people be like, oh, Deron, you're a radical Christian, you're a fundamentalist. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, I am. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. The bad thing is that people have actually strayed away from it, and they have basically gaslighted majority of the masses now, and it makes the masses question their own sanity, because there's just so much insanity coming from the left.
And I think what it is too is, and I've been in this situation plenty of times, but it's when you're outnumbered, whether it be in an online setting like this, or even in a group of friends at a party or something. It's not hard to get afraid and just run away from it.
But see, here's the thing though, Sean. So here's another misconception. There's way more patriots than there are liberals in America. And that's just a fact. And the thing is that, yes, do I believe that when it comes to, intellect and basically being physically responsible and all that kind of stuff, conservatives, we actually we control that, those attributes, we rank high in those attributes. And the thing is, here's the truth. If conservatives really, really, really wanted to, we could take our country and do whatever we want to do. But the thing is that we have to be long-suffering. We have to be patient. We do have to be loving. But we do not have to give people the right. We do not have to allow people to physically and mentally and emotionally abuse us. Because when you allow people to do that to you, you are not being a Christian, not at all. You are not living up to the true definition of a Christian. The first century Christians, they suffered massive amounts of persecution.
Yes.
But yet they still spoke boldly. They still held on to their conservative beliefs, and they were unyielding. And a lot of them died.
They truly were not afraid to die because of it.
That's right. That's right.
But you have so many today that I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would give their lives for it or not.
They kissed the ring, Sean. They kissed the ring, the prince of darkness of this world.
Yeah, it's just a matter of going along to get along, and also to add to this, you know what you were saying about that we could take this country back. You know, the patriots and the conservatives, we could take this country back. I think another thing too is we're not loud enough. You know, I mean, you see how, you know, why is it that so much in the media, like all these heresies, I mean, pro-abortion, pro-homosexuality, pro-trans, pro-atheism, all that stuff. Why do you think it's run amok? Because they're the ones that make the most noise. It's just like the old saying, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the greasing. Same thing here.
Yeah, and you know what's an umbrella term for everything you just named off? Secular humanism. That's the problem.
Yes.
AKA hedonism. Let's do everything without a God. So when you get rid of God, you get rid of a moral absolute. And when you don't have a moral absolute, morale becomes arbitrary. So now they believe, oh, well, you know, I guess morale is subjective. No, morale has always been objective. Truth has always been objective, not subjective. And so this is what mature adults subscribe to. So right now, this is why it's said that a lot of people have been gaslighted and their mental and emotional development has been in a permanent state of arrest. And it's sad to see. And the thing is, though, it's a spiritual battle. Yes. They don't even understand that they are working for the Prince of Darkness, claiming that they actually follow my Yahshua. Well, my Yahshua would definitely say, get away from me. I never knew you, you workers of lawlessness. Even scripture even says, it eludes me right now, the address, but it says that anyone, okay, who condones evil, claiming to be righteous, you're even worse. We live in this Christian postmodernism era right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a lot of false prophets that just blend in. I mean, I remember there was a story that well, actually, again, it was Ted Schubat who told me about this. There was a priest in Ireland. He was a priest for, I don't know, like 30 plus years or so, and he finally retired. And then he started speaking against Christianity and all that, and everyone's like, "What's up? Why are you saying this?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm an atheist." And they're like, "Well, if you're an atheist, why did you become a priest?" And he says, "It was a steady paycheck." And there's people like that all over the place. You just have to know how to spot them. But unfortunately, so many of them do slip under the radar, and you know, but that's a very good verse. I mean, you know, at least, you know, the heretic is at least open about it. But when you have the heretic that's trying to, kind of like what I said earlier about the difference between modern Republicans and Democrats, you know, one side is open about their heresies, the other covers it up as something else. It's the same thing, and I think it's very valid that, you know, the one trying to be righteous when they're not righteous that says it all.
That's right, bro. The thing is, Sean, back when I used to debate a lot, right, when I had my honor classes when I was in high school and all that kind of stuff, etc. One of the first rules of debate, they said the first person who uses an ad hominem attack, a red herring, or a straw man argument, a bait and switch, you lose. Because in order to have a debate, it requires maturity. It requires integrity. It requires character. It requires discipline. And so this is what we're lacking over here. And they replace common sense, critical thinking skills with cognitive dissonance. We know, okay, intuitively, that a man cannot become a woman. We know that. We know there's no such thing truly as a person changing their chromosomes. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
So since it is impossible, what do they want to come up with? New speech. What does new speech do? What's its intended purpose? To create new think. So once you have new think, it's called double think. What is the name for double think? It's called cognitive dissonance. And then when you have a state that forces you to be compliant to cognitive dissonance, that's statism. And that's a step under authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is right under totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is right under a dictatorship. So that's what you get with the far left. No common sense, people who are aimless, people who are mentally lethargic, and completely mentally and emotionally impulsive with no control whatsoever and godless. That is called, quote unquote, a straight up Sodom and Gomorrah, days of Noah, heathen. And I'm just putting it out there straight.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up too with Sodom and Gomorrah, because God himself even said, if there are 10 righteous men in Sodom, I will spare them. And clearly there wasn't. Well, aside from Lot and his family, but obviously we know the story there. His wife turned back and turned to the pillar of salt. But yeah, I mean it's the same thing today. The same thing today. What was I going to say? I hate it when I lose my train of thought.
Oh, same
yes.
Here.
Oh, yes. I know now. Another thing too with the liberal crowd. In addition to all of that, you have so many of them that are constantly angry too. Constantly angry in addition to the ridiculous thinking and the views and all that. But what's funny about that is the majority of the time, these people don't know what the hell they're angry about.
Yeah. Who are you telling, bro? Who are you telling? Back when I was liberal minded. So back when I was liberal minded, when I was in control of my a part of my family's gang, right? I was shot 3 times. And as I had told you before, during my introduction, I was looking at 89 something plus years over my head, right? And it was that judge that gave me grace that basically changed my life. She was the catalyst for my transformation. She woke me up, right? But back when I was liberal minded, I couldn't fully subscribe to blaming other people for my failures. I just couldn't, because it's disingenuous. I had a shred of integrity, right? And the thing is that I grew up very angry. And we have to tell the truth, because I can only speak from my upbringing and the culture that I grew up in, right? The only people who were hurting blacks in my community were blacks. 97% of blacks are killed by a black. That's just the facts. And see, the thing is, this is how I know a person lacks character and they lack maturity. Facts don't care about your feelings. You aligning yourself with the truth, which is AKA Yeshua. He doesn't care about your feelings. He cares about if you have a contrite heart and if you're willing to conform to his ways and basically adopt his train of thought, which is why I love Romans 12, 1 and 2. I'm going to summarize it. It's the Bible all summarized. So I'm going to summarize those 2 scriptures, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Offer yourselves as a living sacrifice, holy and spotless, period. Let's cut that off. Then let's go, boom. Transform your mind. Have a renewing of mind so that you become to know the good and perfect will of the Lord. It's that simple. It's that simple. There are no victims in Christianity. There's no racism in Christianity, because in Christianity is written in the scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament. I did not pick the Jews because you were special. I picked the Jews so that through you, my son would bring salvation to the world. He would tear down all walls of hostility.
Go ye into the world. Go ye into the world and make disciples of all the nations.
Thank you. People are victims by choice because they have excuses and they always want to keep making excuses. You will excel in life. I came from the slums. I own my own business. I am a certified sales development representative. Same time, while I own my own business in computer software sales. That's one of the highest paying industries on the planet, because I stopped making excuses. I stopped thinking like a victim and I started to think like a Christian, a victor, because my scripture says that the enemy is already defeated. This world is defeated. And liberals, I'm going to tell you something else. It's a biblical truth, and I know it's a fact. When I'm in heaven, along with Sean, we are going to judge the world. We're even going to judge angels. You haven't won a dang thing. Trust me. You haven't come close to having a victory.
One thing I want to add too, Deron, is one thing that people tell me a lot when they talk about, backgrounds and stuff like that. They always say, "Oh, well, you don't know how hard it is. You don't know how hard it is. You've never been there."
They can't play that with me.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. That's true. I never lived in an environment like you have. I was never shot. I was never caught up in gang activity or any of that stuff. So that's true. I'm not. But one thing I do know is this. You have the power to get out. You have the power to make your own decisions. Nothing's keeping you there. Just like, nothing kept me. This is not the same example. It's probably a lousy example. But if I wanted to, I could have stayed on collecting unemployment checks for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that because that's not what I wanted. Because I think regardless of your background, even if it's one that you've never lived before, everybody has the opportunity to forge their own path in life.
Bingo. Period. And that's period. That's enough. Because Sean, here's the thing, right? If white privilege was true, how come majority of the people who are on welfare are whites?
That's true. That's very true. Very true.
I'm curious. If white privilege existed, how come majority of the people who live in trailer parks are whites?
Good point.
You know, and that's the thing, Sean. I'm gonna say it again, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's gonna become a cliche on your show.
Hey, the more you say something, the better.
Yep, there's no more critical thinking skills. Everything is victimhood. Why do you think the Democrats? Let me tell you something, Sean. Let's tie this together. There's so many parallels. There's so many correlations. Okay, let's tie this together. What did the slave owner used to tell a slave back on the plantation? You are my property. You will not learn how to read. You will not think for yourself. I will give you a new identity. I will call you what I want to call you. I will give you your provisions. I am your God. I will beat your wife in front of you. I will beat your children in front of you. I will rape your wife in front of you. You belong to me. The world hates you because of the color of your skin.
That reminds me of what you said in the original video that I saw you in when you were talking about, again, not trying to pick on certain areas, but when you called inner cities modern day plantations.
Yes. That
reminded me of that speech that you made to that reporter stuck with me for a lot of reasons. And that's absolutely right. Maybe it's not just the inner cities. No, it's a lot of different places. It's the white people in the trailer park, like you just said too. They rely on somebody, the government, whoever, to provide for them.
Bingo.
Well, start thinking for yourself. Start relying on yourself to carry yourself.
And Sean, I love what you just said too. When you said, here's the thing, right? Everyone has choices. There's no such thing as equal opportunity of outcome. Because if diversity is true, that means you're different. So if you believe in diversity, how can you actually subscribe to equal opportunity of outcome if you actually subscribe to diversity? One is going to have to cancel the other out because it's self-refuting if you try to believe in both and not be a hypocrite. And you can't be largely consistent if you subscribe to both. So equal opportunity outcome is a farce. Okay?
Yeah.
It's another entrapment for people with the victim mentality and entitlement complex, another trap for them to be ensnared in, to make it a lot harder for them to come out of the victimhood, to come out of victim mentality. If I always say this with the liberals, they are the kings of hypocrisy and double standards. Okay. They protest for women's rights, but yet in the same breath, they say there's no such thing as a gender.
Misogyny.
Yeah. Oh, you're a misogynist.
No. It's just like, that's what it is. Like with these these guys dressed as women, up as women, and competing in their sports. I saw it. There was this trans guy who won a female beauty pageant. I think that's actually misogyny, because it's a man basically saying that I can do it better than a woman.
Oh, I never looked at it like that. That's deep.
I forget what site I saw that on, but that's the point that this site made. I think it might have been Illinois Family Institute, but I could be wrong. But the article said that this is actually misogyny when these guys are dressing up like women and competing in their sports and in their beauty pageants and so on. It's in a way misogyny.
That should be considered true toxic masculinity right there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a biological male doing something that's made for an actual woman.
Exactly.
And he's coming in, posing as a woman, and winning.
I told you, look, if it made sense, Sean, I say this a lot to my base. If it made sense, it wouldn't be considered liberal. It can't make sense. It cannot be logically consistent. It can't. It can't be.
No, they thrive on the chaos. They
do. Yeah, they do. Yep. They don't like what's right. They don't like normal. They want, this is probably too brash of a term, but they like the freak show. Yes. Look at Lil Nas X. He's the epitome of liberalism gone wrong. Okay. And liberalism is wrong. I didn't think liberalism could get any more wrong, but he is the epitome of what full-fledged liberalism is. I mean, the dude put out, well, first of all, got boob implants. The thing is, he wasn't so flamboyantly gay, okay, until he started to get rich, right? Which kind of makes me suspect, right, on his motives, right? But I can't judge his motives. That's God's job, right? I can judge him by his actions. And so the thing is, and of course, a lot of Christians can't even, differentiate between those, right? And so the thing is, though, Lil Nas X actually puts out Satan shoes made with drops of real blood with pentagrams on it with the number 666.
I remember seeing that.
Releases the video Montaro, where it is him giving in to Satan. And this is how completely twisted and full of cognitive dissonance and spiritually bankrupt these people are. They turn around and they call it art. A man with breast implants, dressed like a woman, grinding on Satan, who takes Satan's horns off his head and puts Satan's horns on his own head. And they praise this kind of stuff that is purely satanic.
But everybody has a problem with Pepe Le Pew. I'll never understand it.
Or a Cat in the Hat.
Yes, Cat in the Hat too.
Or the angry cat, or the angry white cat meme.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
They got a problem with that. They got a problem with an angry cat. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, where does the ridiculousness end, man? It doesn't. It does.
Dr.
I mean,
Seuss. Yeah, they hate Dr. Seuss.
Well, it is getting to the point. I forgot who said it, but somebody even referred to global warming as being caused by racism. I forget where I heard that, but I know I read that.
Yeah, Sean. I mean, according to Bob Dole, right? Remember, we were supposed to have been flooded. What was it, 10 years ago or something like that? We were supposed to be underwater, right?
Yeah. I'm still walking on grass every day, man. No floaties yet.
Everything they touch, they destroy. They have destroyed the economy. They have destroyed faith in politics. They have destroyed the faith in the election process. They have destroyed the faith in the three branches of government. They have destroyed the faith in our intelligence agencies. Everything they touch, they destroy. And that's how I know they belong to Satan, their father. I'm serious, man.
The one that hurts the most is they've hurt the minds of our children.
Yes, but see, Satan loves to go after the children. Why do you think Yeshua said that whenever you mess with one of these little ones, you're better off putting a millstone around your own neck and going into the sea?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeshua knows that he's going to go after the children. I mean, what better Christians to do it? Fake Christians to do it.
And what better place for all the libtards to go after? I mean, the innocent mind of a child You get them indoctrinated early, they grow up believing it.
That's right.
And
See, you see, you're tying it together. What
yes,
happens
absolutely.
in inner cities? What happens in inner cities across the United States that's controlled by Democrats?
Yeah.
You get them while they're young.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just, I mean, so many things that kids today are seeing, and I'm not talking necessarily teenagers, but I'm talking about like little ones. They're seeing all these things that they should not be seeing.
Exactly. I agree.
I mean,
Full agreement.
we're at a point now where people think it's appropriate for drag queens to either read stories to 5-year-olds or to dance on them like they're at a strip club.
Yeah, with no underwear on.
It's disgusting.
They don't find that repulsive, but you know what they find repulsive? Hey, can I talk to you about Jesus? Oh, get away from me! I'm repulsed.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't find the religion of Islam to be repulsive or atrocious, right? No. And here's the thing. How about Sean? How about this? Because I just want to introduce this to you because this is one of the things that just baffles me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a true social justice warrior, wouldn't you hate any kind of inequality across the board?
You would think so,
right? So how come they're not mad at Arabs for the 7th century slave trade that actually lasted way longer than the European slave trade, which actually killed more Africans than a European slave trade? 60 to 80 were killed in European slave trade, but in the Arab slave trade, almost 300 million Africans were actually killed, and they were treated even more inhumanely.
Nobody will ever talk about that.
No, they're not made of Arabs, and Arabs still have slaves today over in Darfur and Sudan, Africa, right now.
Yeah, they do. I remember seeing that. I remember reading about that. And here's another example too. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but my heritage, I'm Irish.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know this, but Irish people were
discriminated against when it came to America.
Well, they were slaves too, but of course, the history books, they're going to get around that by calling them indentured servants.
Right, and you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the first slave ships, and I hate to refer to humans as cargo, but you understand expressions.
Absolutely.
Back then, right?
And any sane person's going to know what you mean.
Exactly. I want to keep the context, right? And so it's just the thing is the cargo. It was diverse. It was people from all different countries. Oh, they don't want to talk about that. Why not? How come they want to talk about how the Irish were treated even when they're starting to migrate to the United States? How about the Italians? The Italians were treated bad too. I mean, Italians were forced into ghettos, right? I mean, Italians, became like mob leaders, aka gang leaders, whatever. Same freaking thing, right? High crime rates and all that kind of stuff. They transitioned out of it because they knew that they were killing themselves with this victim mentality. They knew that the only people who can oppress you in life is yourself. But nah, see, where you have Christ, he gives you liberty. Where you don't have Christ, you don't have a liberty.
Exactly. I mean, you want to keep going further with this example. I mean, look at the term paddy wagon. That's discriminatory. Look at all the Irish people who were in gangs and
that's right,
probably forced into it. All the signs where they where the businesses said Irish need not apply. But do you see me blaming anybody else or constantly being angry at something that happened to my ancestors? No. You know why? Because you and I both can take a lesson from history and learn from it and move on from it. Mm-hmm. and better society because of it. Oh, and by the way, Dwayne, thanks for showing up. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you later. But yeah, we are reasonable enough guys that we can just learn from history and move on from it. And because I don't see the point, regardless if your family was a slave or not, or dealt with it. What is the point of being angry about it? What's the point of being angry about something that you yourself never had anything to do with? It's a complete waste of time.
I'm telling you, that's why that victimhood is self-induced.
And I really think too, with this victimhood and playing, the race card or any kind of card, it's really a scam. I think just to try to get something. I don't think all the people that do this. I mean, the celebrities and the athletes that are kneeling and pushing this agenda. We know what they're about, but I think it trickles down even to the everyday, ordinary people. They use this stuff to get something. I don't think they're actually as angry as they make themselves out to be.
Sean, I just said this the other day. Race baiting and race hustling is an enterprise. It's an industry in America, unfortunately. But I mean, that's how great capitalism is, right? You can make a living. You can become a millionaire off of race baiting and race hustling. Wow. So, just like those 3,000 blacks back in old America that owned 30,000 slaves in America, we still have slave owners today that sell the slave mentality and they get rich from it. LeBron James is definitely one of them. Oprah Winfrey is one of them.
Yes.
Don Lemonhead, okay, Tyler Perry, anyone who pushes this victim mentality, and yet they're millionaires, billionaires. They have their own networks, their own shows, and etc. Mansions, and they can take trips. They drive these illustrious luxury cars. They got tons of diamonds and freedom everywhere. Where's their oppression? If America was systematically racist, how did you get rich?
How about this example that we haven't neither one of us have mentioned yet? One of the founders of the BLM organization, she just bought a $1.4 million house in a predominantly white neighborhood.
And she owns more than one mansion.
Yeah. So where's her oppression? And plus, where's she getting the money from?
Told you.
I'm telling you, and I don't need to tell you, you know this already, but I'm telling anybody that's still watching, these people play the people that, like all the ones that rioted and looted the streets in the cities last year, they were played like fools. The only victims here is their innocent minds that they allowed to be corrupted.
Exactly.
They believe such nonsense, such BS, and I'm like I said earlier with the Bronx Tale example. I mean, do you think Colin Kaepernick or LeBron James, do you think they actually give a crap about the people that they're working up? No. Do you think they're gonna, if these people come to them asking for financial help, you think they'll pay their rent or their mortgage payment? No, absolutely not.
BLM has yet to give money to businesses that were burned down. I'm out here in Minnesota. They burned down my old neighborhood, Southside Minneapolis. Majority of those business owners were minorities. BLM has yet to pay any of these business owners. When I went on to the north side, which is Ilhan Omar's district, the radical Somali Muslim lady who's completely out of reality that hates America. Mm-hmm. She remains in America. Anyway, her district, they really torched her district, and her district is predominantly black. I went out there and I did an interview with her constituents over there, and I each and every person I had asked, do you think this is the right actions? And how hard has it made life for you now? All these people started to cry and said, every part of my life that I used to have is gone. I can no longer walk to the store anymore because it's been burned down. I can't even go to another store that I used to go to because it's been burned down. I can't get food for my kids. My job was lost. And they tell me that Black Lives Matter. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Or that it was peaceful protest.
Oh, goodness gracious, Sean. And that's the thing about it, my brother. They might not like what we say, but here's the thing that I love about the scriptures. The word of God never comes back void. So, I'm telling you, my agenda is always to plant the seeds of truth, which is aka Yeshua, in a person's heart. That's why I like to do these shows. That's why I like to mention and reference Yeshua, because all of my talking points has to do with the Bible. I love to covertly plant the seeds of truth into people. So this is part of my ministry.
Yes. That's
yep.
And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I know you're that kind of person. You have that fire. Even when I met, Ted, Andrew, and Waleed, they had the same thing, and you have it too. And it gives myself personally, and maybe this is a little selfish here, but it gives me comfort, but more importantly, hope.
That's right.
That an assurance that I know that I'm not alone out there.
That's right.
Because I've had so many people. I know you've had people come at you. I've had people come at me, and no, it's not easy. You feel ganged up on. It feels hopeless at times, but it is so great to know that I'm not that only one.
That's right. I'm telling you, Sean. I mean, you can't just go to the gym once, right, and expect to be buff, right?
Yeah, it takes time.
That's right.
It's going to take time. You have to put the work in. You have to be out there, putting in the effort.
Gym. Yep, this is our gym, brother, and it only makes us stronger. We will always outlast them. I'm serious. You don't even have to lift a finger. You will always outlast evil. We will always outlast evil as long as we're connected to Yeshua.
Yes, and keep another thing in mind too. He may have said that he would never flood the earth again. He never said anything about fire, though.
That's right. That's right. Amen, brother. I'm telling you, man. We have some dark days coming ahead of us, but the scripture always says that he will protect his children, period. He never failed, and he's not going to start today. He's never lied. No. He's not going to start today. He doesn't lose, and he's never going to start today. So that's right.
And I got to ask you something about that, just out of curiosity, because there's been times where I've wondered this before too. But with as flawed as we humans are, do you ever wonder why he does it? Why the Lord does it? Why he thinks so highly of us? Because we are so flawed. I almost think that sometimes we're not even deserving of it.
I'll unpack it like this, right? Let me use an analogy. Also kind of metaphorical at the same time too, but more of an analogy. Babies, they're beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're innocent, right?
Yeah.
No, they're not. What happens, Sean, if you try to take a bottle from a baby?
Oh, it throws a fit.
What happens if you put a bug into a baby's hands?
He's not going to like it. It's going to sting him. He's going to
No.
cry.
If you put a bug into a baby's hands, the baby's going to crush it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. This is an analogy that I haven't heard.
Same thing when a baby basically grabs an animal, right? The baby doesn't know how to be delicate. They don't understand how strong they are. There's a lot of babies that actually kill house pets, right?
I never thought of it that way, but that's true.
Being a baby is the embodiment of God, but also the embodiment too of your sinful nature. But with us being, I'm not a parent, but
me neither.
God is that parent. You can't get mad at your baby if your baby accidentally killed your house pet. You can't be mad at your baby if your baby throws a temper tantrum because you took his bottle from him because you want him to start to eat meat, which that's another biblical reference, right? So if your baby squashes that bug, you're not going to be like, you're not my kid anymore, blah, 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 blah. No. You be like, I brought you into this world for a reason because I designed you for an intended purpose. And I already know what's going to happen. Now, okay, I'm not one of those. Look, I'm not with fatalism, right? We're talking about, you know what I mean by fatalism, right?
I think so.
where it's full blown like God controls everything. He's a micromanager and all that kind of stuff. And so he picked you to go to hell. And no, I'm not with any of that kind of stuff. No, foreknowledge, it's not necessarily predestinationism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I had said before, when you read the scriptures, because I had asked this question though, Sean, in a different way. I was just like, how come you put up with so much evil? And because we're evil. And when I read the scriptures is like, I sent my son not to condemn, but to save. Scripture also says I'm patient.
Yeah.
I'm patient because I want to give each and every person the opportunity for salvation. That's beautiful, bro. And that's the reason why we have so much of this stuff going on. I mean, he has the unconditional love. And it's these conceits that comfort me, my brother. When I have the insurance
of
the scriptures, right? When I have the insurance of the scriptures, where scripture also says too, though, is that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. And I love when Paul says, when Paul was like, that's a foolish question. Why would you ask me what if you're going to get a spiritual body or not? Of course you're going to have a spiritual body. Of course you can't go to heaven in the flesh. You have to be transformed. You're going to have a new name.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. This old world is going to pass away and we're going to have a new one, and we have dual citizenship. So like Paul said, earthly matters should be easy for you to discern because you have heavenly discernment. I'm not worried about these liberals, Sean. I'm not even worried about the culture they are creating, because the thing is, God already knew that this was going to happen, but he does not put us through trials or battles, okay, that we cannot handle. And that's what I love about it. It's already beautiful. Finished. It's already finished. Sean, rest in that, brother. Yeah.
And that's what I got to remember too is, I mean, we just celebrated it. He died on the cross for our sins.
That's right. Everyone.
That was all part of the plan.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
I mean, of course, don't think that I doubt his plan. Absolutely not.
Right.
But it's just, you can't help but wonder that sometimes. It's like, so many times, like the things that happen, are we worth saving? But then you go back to that and you realize, you know what? We are. He didn't make mistakes with us. He didn't.
Think about it, Sean. Think about it, though, Sean. Like, seriously, Sean, think about it, right? Just imagine if you're an infinite amount old.
Yeah.
You have trillions upon trillions of kids. You mean to think that you can do something different that he has never encountered before? That's what I love about him being an author and a finisher. It's awesome, man. I'm you know what? Just
I got you.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful, man. It really is. It's beautiful, man. You know, Solomon said, "There's nothing new underneath the sun."
Yeah, I guess we all do forget that. You know, it's everything that we're seeing today. It is nothing new. It really is. It goes back when we were talking about Sodom and Gomorrah earlier. Same thing, just a new century, a new year.
That's right.
Different way.
That's right. Love covers a multitude of sins, my brother. And I like when you mentioned Sodom and Gomorrah, because Abraham had to appeal. He did. And remember, I mean, God basically had a debate with Abraham about that. I mean, and it got less and less. What about there's 20? What if there's 15? What if there's 10? What if there's 8? What if there's 5? He said, I'll spare it then. See that? I mean, that's that love that covers a multitude of sin. The Bible was fully intentional. Every scripture supports all scripture because it's all inspired by the Holy Spirit. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You can tell I love Christian apologetics. Oh my goodness.
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, I've had that experience myself, because there was a time in my life where I never lost my faith,
Mm-hmm.
but I just didn't take it as serious as I should have. And I never supported heretical things, but I'm like, we should just let them be. Don't bother them. Don't try to fight back. It's pointless. And I don't know what it was, but the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit worked his way back into me and woke me up and was like, Sean, this is your faith, man. Go back to it. You can't not take this serious.
That's right.
You have to be, like the soldier, onward, Christians, go. I forget the lyrics, but be that zeal, be that militant that you were brought up in Christ to be.
That's right.
But of course, that just goes back to, our, people's, our human nature. We're going to slip. We're going to fall. And, I had my time where I did that. Now, hell, I still fall to this day. But
I mean,
my faith.
Sean, no, I hear what you're saying, but see, I love how Paul summarized it. He said, "Why do I do what I know not to do? And if I do what I know I'm not supposed to do, it is sin in me." One of our greatest apostles, that's his confession.
Yeah.
So that is that battle. I mean, that battle until we are transformed into the newness, the full newness of Christ, which, I can't wait for that. Oh, that's going to be epic. It's going to be epic.
It is.
Epic.
It is.
Oh, man. And it just puts me at a loss for words, and just lets me know that no matter what happens on this planet, it's not stronger than the spirit that we have in us. That's why I consider Christians to be immortals. We are immortals when we have Christ, because
eternal life, man.
We only die once. We don't die twice.
No.
That's beautiful.
No, this right now is temporary. This planet, these bodies, it's all temporary.
That's right.
So
that's right. Well, man, thank you for having me on, Sean.
Yeah. I'm at the point, I'm at the point where I'm trying to find stuff to talk about, but we covered such a great amount. Holy cow, we've gone for almost 2 hours. That's awesome.
Time goes by when you're in your niche.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted, when you told me earlier in the message that you sent me, I hope you have some good questions for me. I'm like, man, I'm so excited about talking to this guy because I've been following him for over a year. I get that chance. What if I fail? What if I don't? What if he's not happy with the things I have to ask him? But I found that groove, man. I found it.
That's right.
But of course, when you have an easy person to talk to, it just, that flow really goes.
Yes, that's right. It's an absolute flow, my brother. I'm telling you. And the spirit, he's heavy upon us right now.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. All glory to Yeshua. All glory to Yeshua.
But yeah, Deron, I really hate cutting this off, but I'm starting to get hungry.
My man, I hear you. That's why I was just like, yeah, Sean, I gotta
gotta get some food, got a few other things to do. But man, this was a powerful 2 hours, man, and I hope from now on I can officially call you a friend.
Oh yeah, absolutely, my brother. More than that, you're my brother in Christ, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You the same with me, and we'll definitely be in touch some more. And if you ever want to come on again, you're more than welcome to.
Absolutely, my brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you are welcome. And so on that note, Deron Slater of YeshuaPatriots.com, everyone. Great dude. Just an absolute privilege to talk to you, man.
Likewise, Sean.
So thanks again for coming on and taking the time. And again, one last thing. I really didn't expect to hear from you so quick like I did earlier.
I respond. I try to respond to each and every person that sends me a text.
Well, you were. I don't think punctual does it justice, because I send you the message, and then like 5 minutes later, if that, I'm like, ding. I'm like, who's this? Deron Slater got back to me already? You got to be kidding me! With as many followers as this guy has, he's getting back to me in less than 5 minutes. That's crazy.
Right. People aren't numbers to me. People are people have intrinsic value. And I just wish more people would start to treat people as if they are basically just, I mean, you can't put a price on people. You can't. The same way you can't put a price on truth. You can't put a price on something that's benevolent. You can't. And so, yes, people, you already know my overall agenda is, it is to tell the truth, is to free my country from the snares of Satan, and to send as many people, which, I mean, I'm not responsible for it, but for planting the seeds of truth to get people to heaven. That's what my agenda is.
Yeah, just planting those roots. And
That's right, my brother.
And just hope they blossom.
That's right.
So, all right, dude. Well, Deron, again, thank you so much. And this is what we're gonna call it. I could extend this out longer, but we got to keep moving on with our lives, man. Keep doing what we got to do. So, thank you again so much. You have yourself a great evening. God bless you, and God bless you all to the people that are still watching, and as hard as it is, even to our enemies.
That's right.
So,
all right, brother. Take it easy.
Good night. You too. Thank you.